everybody. Hi, this is Dave, Secret Squirrel 123. We would be doing a presentation tonight, but on episode 28, excuse me, but neither dog nor my daughter wanted to show up, and so we actually got nothing. So have a good night. See ya. Oh, wait, what? What? Oh, sorry. Correction. Evidently, we do have something tonight. All right, so let's get on with it. So Free Russian forces attacked the area west of Belgrade. Okay, on the map, it would be up here, North Kharkiv, right where that blue dot is. Basically, it is the whole logistics hub for that part of the war. Okay, they didn't attack into the city, they attacked the suburbs, and it wasn't one attack, it was 3 attacks. Now, this is a raid. That's all it was, a company-sized raid. This is not the first one. So they had Humvees, pickup trucks, MRAPs, and some armored cars. The Humvees and pickup trucks and MRAPs were either black or tan, and a couple armored cars were the pixelated Ukrainian camouflage. They're not actually technically in the Ukrainian army, so they can do whatever they want. And by the way, let's see, in 2014 this worked. You can buy any of that stuff at your local surplus store, so obviously it's going to work now, right? All right, so facing off with this company of Russian separatists, Free Russian Legion, or anti-Putin guys, whatever, are 7 battalions of Russian territorial defense forces in the whole Belgrade region. That's 3,000 troops. Okay, yeah, 3,000 troops versus 100, plus 20 or 30 at the FSB border troops there. So you think that that's pretty good, right? First of all, the 3,000 troops have to show up. Second of all, and I'm not kidding here, this is what the 3,000 troops are showing up with. Masinagat, World War I vintage, or actually pre-World War I vintage. Now, I know somebody's going to say, well, it's a good sniper rifle. No, these are not sniper rifle versions. These are the rack grade versions that have been sitting someplace after a few wars, shot out barrels, and they may or may not have corrosive ammunition that ruins the barrels. So yeah, this is what the Freedom of Russia guys have. They've got brand new ARs, and so bring it. All right, so like I said, there was a small FSB company at the crossing point, the main crossing point of where it happened, and they didn't stand a chance. They were overrun. Didn't put up much of a fight. Okay, so the area that they're attacking is about 700 kilometers long. It goes from the Belgrade border, or it goes from the occupied Ukrainian border in the south all the way up to Belarus, okay, up by Kyiv. Okay, so it's actually 700 kilometers, but the way that the Russians defend it is 5 symmetric lines of defense. You've got a trench, you've got an anti-tank trench, you've got the roads, you've got the obstacles and everything. So if they're going to have to build their place up, it's actually going to be 3,500 kilometers of defense line. And that's going to cost about $4 billion to build, because it's not just digging a hole. It's tank traps, anti-tank mines, anti-personnel mines, concrete bunkers, firing positions, headquarters areas. All these things have to be put into this line or it's worthless. Also, you're going to need about 300,000 troops to man it. They got to come from someplace. So unless they want to do a massive draw-up of people sitting in holes, it's not going to happen. There's actually vast distances between the border checkpoints. It's not like you have them with eyesight or within eyesight or anything. There's large gaps between there, so Free Russians have been able to just walk through. The commander, after the raid today, the commander, his name is White Rex, gave an interview saying that the raid was a complete success. They went in, got what they needed to do, and showed the flag, more or less. Again, it was a raid. It was not taking land and holding it and everything like that. The Russians are saying 70 Free Russians were killed. Free Russians were giving an interview, and they said 2 killed, 10 wounded in action, and they were able to pull back across the line. Oh yeah, Russian media came into the fray. They wanted to see what was going on and everything, and so they jumped in vehicles and ran to the front. Well, they got shot at. The reason why they got shot at, and I'll try to put a picture up here someplace, you don't be the media running around in Russian army uniforms or jackets or anything. You become a target. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go with our sponsor, which is Liberty Ukraine, right there. Liberty Ukraine. If you want to support a Ukrainian-based or organization, support Liberty Ukraine. They actually get stuff to the front. Okay, next sponsor is the Sharpie Corporation. The Sharpie Corporation, making second lieutenants first lieutenants for the last 30 years. If you got a smart lieutenant, they'll get a Sharpie. If you got a silly lieutenant, they'll sew the new stuff on everything. If you've been in the military, you know what I mean. Boom. All right, so losses for the Free Russian forces were 3 Humvees, 2 armored cars, 2 pickup trucks, and 2 MRAPs. That's actually believable. I'm not saying that some of it was staged. I'm not saying that, whatever. But they actually gained a $1.4 million BTR-82 Alpha, very nice armored personnel carrier. And from reports, they shot down at least 1, possibly 2 Mi-8s. So that's about $4 or $5 million. So on the trade-off, Free Russians came out ahead. And it wasn't just 1 attack, it was 3 attacks. And I'll have the graphic up there. But it was three attacks all along the southern border right there in a little salient. And the thing is, the Russians went in, attacked, pulled back, and drew the Russians into a fight where they have artillery, mortars, and drones covering that area. So they had to attack in the open over the field. So they're taking losses right now. In the past, anti-Putin forces have done previous attacks. I know of at least 3. They really haven't hit the news. The Free Russians would go across the border, take a few houses, show the flag, and come back. And they've been trying to do little pinpoint attacks to piss off the Russians. Hasn't been making the news. This made the news because it was a whole company that did it. So, in the end, people are like, well, they went in, they did some stuff, and they're going to make Russia mad. Big deal. The Russians are like, oh, well, something happened someplace. No real things happened. All right, that is completely not true. A lot of people are missing the reason for the raids, or the raid. They want to draw attention to the fact that the Russian border is unsecured. So what's going to happen is this, and it's already started because the media is going nuts over in Russia, but it's already started. Troops are going to have to forward deploy from Belgrade. Right now, they're in Belgrade, surrounded by hostages, basically, civilians. So if the Ukrainians attack Belgrade, where the troops are stationed, they're going to kill Ukrainian civilians. So they're not doing that. So what's going to have to happen? So what's happening now is the troops that are in Belgrade are forward deploying out into the fields and the forests to fight the Free Russians. And so they're out in the open getting shot at by mortars, artillery, and drones. Second, it's going to take at least 1 to 3 divisions to support that border. At least 3 divisions, in my personal opinion. Okay? And I don't know where they're going to get those 3 divisions. Boom, right there. So if they take the 3 divisions from the line right here, that's going to weaken the defense of the occupied territories inside Ukraine. So they're going to have to pull combat units from occupied Ukraine to reinforce the Russian border. That will mean that there will be fewer tanks, fewer artillery, fewer troops, fewer machine guns, fewer anti-tank missiles on this border. They'll go up there, and then when Ukraine strikes someplace, it'll have less stuff to fight. Now, people will say, well, they'll just move stuff up there and attack. attack Ukraine. Wrong. Ukraine on their side has been building defensive positions since day one. The Russians haven't. I haven't seen any real defensive structures along the Ukrainian-Russian border. It's all on the Ukrainian side. So if they want to mass troops up there in 2023 with real-time satellite pictures, Ukraine's going to know exactly where they're coming before they know. So, okay, that's first thing. Second thing, civilians are fleeing Belgrade right now. They are tired. They've seen what happened in Bakhmut and the other places, and they don't want to be stuck in Belgrade if the Ukrainians attack. And that's a big fear thing on Russian news right now. A lot of fears going on. So you've got tens of thousands of people pulling out of Belgrade, and a lot of those are actually workers in the defense industry. So if you got somebody that's in charge of the trains grabbing his family and running, well then, whatever. This shows to the Russian population that Russia is not safe. The war is coming home to them. And it shows that you have a choice. Everybody in Russia is not pro-Putin, and people are standing up to him and killing FSB guys. FSB is not loved in Russia, so if you get a chance to even the score with a FSB guy that maybe had done you wrong 20, 30, or even a generation ago, people are doing it. Okay. Yeah, it's going to force these guys in the open. Up till now, Russians have been behind the lines, far behind the lines up north, in training areas, surrounded by civilians, and they can't defend the area if they're in those areas. They have to forward deploy. When they forward deploy, Ukrainians have so many mortars, so many artillery now, that have been displaced from the Western guns replacing, because what's happening? The Western guns have been replacing the less capable Soviet guns. Soviet guns have been moved out to safer areas. Boom. So the Russians are going to have to move into the areas where the Soviet Ukrainian guns are at. It's ugly. Okay. All right. Another thing is, word has had to go out on Russian news for hunters not to be shooting at Russian Ukrainians or free Russians, okay? Evidently, some hunters have engaged soldiers in the woods, and they found out that they were Russians instead of Ukrainian or free Russians. So hunters have been shooting at their own people. So that's kind of hilarious. Adds to the confusion. Okay. And lastly, I need a drink. Chicken's not here. Kid's not here. I got no drink. All right. And lastly, it's being reported the Ukraine was behind the May 3rd attack on the Kremlin. All right. If you look back at the May 4th, 5th, or whatever video, I stated that the Ukrainians were behind the attack on the Kremlin. I did it on Twitter. And I had all these people, oh no, it's a false flag. What? That was not a false flag attack. Ukraine has been trying to hit that thing for over 3 months. And now it's being acknowledged that it was a Ukrainian operation. So stop doubting me. I'm batting like 90% right now. If you want good intel, you come here. If you want rather shoddy stuff, you go to Chuck or the Brazilian chick. All right, tell your friends. I'll try to keep you up to date. But right now, it looks like the Free Russians have pulled back. They're securing the area along the border, letting the Russians come up there and get shot at. And it looks like it was a brilliant raid. They did have some losses, but they poked the bear, and the bear has no choice but to defend the border now. And that's going to cost billions of dollars, hundreds of tanks, hundreds of artillery that they don't have, without moving it from there. And my bet is they're going to move it from first tank army right there is going to get a move. He's going to get told to move up and reinforce the border pretty soon. Okay? If not, it's going to be the whole Western Military District is going to be pulled out along the front right there and redeployed along that line, because that's their people. The Western Military District right there are the guys who unless I'm wrong, and I'll fact check myself later. But they're going to use the guys that are stationed there to defend their families. And that's going to be a lot fewer troops on the border right there. All right, stay tuned. We'll find out how this unravels. Thank you so much. Bye.